Are you a football fan? Have you ever found yourself wondering, what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help you. Join me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official. All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome back to another episode of Whistle Talk. Mike D, the referee, coming at you again here from the lovely state of New Jersey. Once again, I am joined by my buddy Daniel Chamberlin, coming from the state of, just okay. Daniel, how's it going, buddy?
You got jokes.
I try.
Fantastic. Thanksgiving weekend, or week, it's my favorite holiday out of all of them because some of y'all can tell I'm eating right now. I love eating. I love food. So I try. Mike, this week is my task every year is to try to get to as many Thanksgiving dinners as possible.
How much weight are you putting on this week?
I don't know, but it better not be a lot because I got on a scale a couple days ago and almost cried.
When do you have to play Army again?
Got a few weeks, but I'm still within regs. It's just I'm higher than I am used to. So I bought some. I'm a big Shiner cheer beer. If you haven't ever had that on the holiday,
Shiner Bock, yes.
So I bought a case and drank 4 a night for however many 8 nights or something.
8 crazy nights? Is this Hanukkah now too?
Yeah, and the weight added up. Jesus.
Oh.
Anyway, but it is Thanksgiving week. I'm super pumped about it. It's like I said, my favorite holiday. So we already have all of the events planned. I pretty much get to deer hunt and eat. That's what this week is.
Yeah, that sounds awful. I got to go to school for another 2 days, and then I get to work a football game Thanksgiving morning though, so I'm pretty pumped up about that. And then I go, then I don't have to worry about the uniform fitting me for the remainder of the week or the day or even the season. So no holds barred going on there.
Love it.
Daniel joining us tonight. I've got Mr. Ed Pomerantz joining us from the state of New York.
Go right
Ed, how you doing, bud?
I'm okay. Thank you so much.
So Ed is coming to us from New York, and Ed and I have been communicating for a couple months now, and finally I had the impetus to have Ed on, which we had planned on a while ago, and then life got in the way, and then football season started, and but here we are. Finally got Ed to get on with us tonight. Ed, appreciate you taking the time on short notice too. I kind of sent out some messages this morning, and Ed was able to jump on with us. Ed is the president and founder of an association right now that is strictly in New York, but he is looking to eventually branch out to basically all the other states dealing with football officiating. Ed, I'm going to kind of pass the torch to you to let everybody know about your association that you got.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Yeah. My name is Edward Pomerantz, and I'm the president and founder of Say So, Stop Abusing Your Sports Officials. I think it's well known that sports officiating abuse is a problem. So I'm going to do my best to try and stop that. I think through education, letting people know that there's a shortage, see if we can recruit more members. We can do our best to keep sports alive. Without us, they can't play. And without them, we can't referee. It goes both ways, folks.
Yeah, there's that old adage saying that without us, it's only practice. So, Daniel, remember that, dang it. So, the foundation that you have going, is it primarily around dealing with parents and coaches involved in the abuse of officials? Because I know at the youth level that tends to be a little bit more prominent than when you're getting to the high school level. But is that where you guys are pretty much focusing on with the coaches and parent side of it, or is it all across?
We're definitely focusing on youth right now because when you're new, that's where you start. And as youth officials, that's where you're going to get your rookie ones. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to make errors. If you drive them off the field that day, they're not going to come back, and we're in
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah, so it is kind of a crazy conundrum that we put ourselves into as officials, that we want to kind of cut our teeth working the youth level because the game's a little bit slower, and it's also and we joke around, it's where you're gonna see the crazy plays really happen because you got a bunch of little kids running around at times. So it really sometimes gets chaotic. So it tests your mindset out on with some of the rules and different things like that. But consequently, you typically have untrained coaches that are going along with it. Untrained coaches, also known as parents. And a lot of the parents just don't have a coaching background, and what their coaching background is what they're watching on the NFL games come Sunday afternoon. And well, I know a lot of the youth games were played Sunday morning, so I always made the adage, Coach, this isn't Sunday, but it really was a Sunday, so I kind of screwed that one up. I put my foot in my own mouth there. But
That's pretty
but
funny.
when they're thinking like it every week is their Super Bowl, and they're all over you. And Ed, I don't know if how it is by you, but at our really young levels, I want to say up until 9U now. I think 9U is what we call competitive football, but under that 8U, um, we don't even have a scoreboard on. We have the clock on just so we have a timer going, but we're not keeping score with that. And at some levels, they're allowed to have a coach on the field. So you have a coach on the defensive side, you have a coach in the offensive backfield, the coaches are in the huddles, and now they're really right up in the grill and screaming and yelling. And it can be a little chaotic at times. So, what are your thoughts with stuff like that?
I understand needing coaches for the youth level to help them line up, but they say no coaching as soon as the
Yeah.
ball is snapped. Why not the entire play?
Yeah.
Just be quiet, and
Uh,
then if you have a discussion, you know, I have no problem with a coach, what is it, time in baseball, maybe, hey, referee, can I talk to you? That's fine. You
yep.
can be civil. Then you start yelling and screaming, and, I expect that at a varsity game. Truth.
Yep.
Expect that at a varsity game. But a sub level, we can talk to each other, guys. We can talk to each other.
Have you ever heard of a youth coach getting fired because they didn't get wins and losses? Because I
Uh,
haven't.
no.
But I've heard of high school coaches getting fired because of wins and losses. So taking a little bit more verbal baggage from a high school coach kind of goes along with the territory, because that could be for some of them their livelihood. Now here in New Jersey, what we get paid for coaching is peanuts, so my livelihood is a teacher, and we coach on the side. But I know there are some states across this country where coaching high school is a full-time job, and it is a very well-paying full-time job at that too. In some of your bigger states, Texas, California, Florida, different places like that, Georgia probably. Just guessing off the top of my head, but yeah. But the youth level, you're a volunteer coach again, who's most likely just a parent. So let us officiate, you coach, and let the kids play.
I think there's a little bit of what goes into coaches. I don't even know that the win and loss matters. It's the passion behind it, right? Like if we start being like, hey, don't be passionate, don't exert your feelings, or well, just talk, and well, we're kind of out there to set a few tones. One, if my quarterback makes the wrong read, I'm probably getting his butt too. Does it
Yep.
matter that he's 7? No. If we're not going to coach him to be correct, then why are we coaching at all, right? I need him to make the proper read or whatever. Now, hopefully at that level, no one's trying to like air raid and, but if my guard can't down block or pull and kick, or my running back isn't hitting, whatever, it doesn't matter what position. If they're doing it wrong, we're going to coach them up. Now,
Yeah.
the more emotional you get, the more you expect to win. and more buy-in you have, if you will, you're probably going to elevate your voice sometimes because things maybe they've shown they have it in the past and now they're just not executing, whatever. But we want people to do what they're supposed to do in the gridiron, no matter what their level is. And so I kind of understand, and obviously it's from the coaching side, where it's like, now I'm not going to get in a yelling match with a ref over a spot or a penalty or whatever. If my guys are getting worked against it's a foul and it's not being thrown, I'm probably going to be upset by it. I'm probably going to come over and have a conversation. I'm not one to yell and scream at refs anyway, so I truly don't understand what those guys are thinking. But I'm kind of glad that like those youth coaches are showing some emotion, right? I mean, they're at least passionate about what they're doing. It's better than going there and going through the motion. That game matters. You know what I mean? Sure, he's not going to lose his job because of wins and losses, but the game matters. It matters to the kids. And if we don't act like it matters, then kids aren't going to want to play for us very long. Parents aren't going to want to play for us very long. And a lot of it is just developmental to get to the next level where that game matters until it's a varsity game where the rest of the world starts thinking that everything matters, right? But those kids don't get there. They don't learn how to win and execute and et cetera without those youth games. So.
No, and you do make great points. So I got to backtrack from what I was saying, and I don't mean it that way because myself being a youth coach with my son's teams, I do agree with you 1,000%. We're trying to teach the kids to whatever sport it is, and we're talking football right now, but we're trying to teach that because sports is one thing, but sports is a way of life outside of sports. So what we're teaching them now, even at the youth level, to be successful, to correct their mistakes, to deal with failures and all that adversity. Yeah, that is what a good coach is going to do. And again, sometimes because of the emotion that is involved and the passion that the coaches have, and I know myself, the hours that I put in, even at the youth game outside of the practice preparing there, you do get a little frustrated at the kids and sometimes at the officials. But an example, Daniel, that I got to talk to you about is with our AYF games. Again, that lower level with the 8U, one of our rules, and I'm not sure if this is a national AYF rule or if it's just the state of New Jersey, but you have to line up with basically in a double tight end formation, and the defense has to cover the guards, the tackles, the tight ends. The defense has to play in a 6-5 formation. Again, it's just to get them out there popping for the first time. So everything is kind of earmarked. Okay, this is the formation. And one of the rules is you're not allowed to run a gap, meaning you can't just come up with a quarterback and run basically the tush push where you're just making a dive going through a gap. But now when you got a coach on the field and they're running some type of off tackle play, and all of a sudden you have a good running back who sees a hole open up that, okay, their aiming point was C gap, and all of a sudden they put their foot in the ground and they cut it back across the grain and it eventually hits A gap. Well, now you got coaches screaming and yelling, they're not allowed to run A gap. And this is where now as an official, I'm teaching them, no, coach, it was an off tackle play. They actually just ran power at you. They were kicking out the guy, but the running back made a good read. And that's where me having a coaching background, I kind of shut them up to say, but other guys are like, well, no, you can't run A gap. It doesn't matter. Well, A gap moves. Like all the gaps move because, well, hopefully all the players are moving, but you can't run straight dive. That's what they're looking to get away with. But when you hear that all game long from the coaches and they're screaming and yelling at you, and then you got 3 of you and 9 dads or moms on the sideline, 1 or 2 of them on the field, and they're just watching their kid, it gets to be a little bit old after a while.
For sure. No, there has to be a line there somewhere, right? Because you kind of started out this talking about the abuse that, or the, I guess abuse is the good word for it, that we are giving refs. You just have to be really careful because like coaches are expected to be perfect. Like you said, they're going to lose their job if they don't win games. So we'll go back to varsity level for a minute. I get it. Youth is a weird animal. I expect perfection at youth, even if it's not going to happen. But at the varsity level, right? The coach would lose his job if he doesn't win. He's expected to go out and be strategically, fundamentally sound. He's expected to be a perfectionist at his craft, right? Expertise matters. And so I think it also is okay to expect the counterpart in stripes to come out and be an expertise in their craft and to be somewhat perfect. We're going to make bad play calls sometimes, right? Our kids are going to execute poorly sometimes, and we constantly are coaching that up. And I know now that I've worked with you so long here, Mike, that you guys are doing that as well. I think it's awesome that you taught that youth coach something, right? Sure, they're gonna, and that's a weird rule. Like I guess I get it, like trying to eliminate that play.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. I'm kind of talking in circles because it's a weird topic, man. When you start going, it's us versus them, and it shouldn't be, right? But I'm not a guy that thinks like that, but I know some that do. So it does make it weird to talk about. Like, stop abusing refs. We'll come out and call a great game. Well, that's hard. It's hard to be perfect. Well, it's hard for us to execute perfect. So if you don't want to get yelled at for throwing a bad flag, but then you're throwing a flag because a kid didn't do something perfect, it's like a negative react. You know what I mean? It's like a negative loop there.
So Ed, what are some of the worst scenarios that you've had to deal with the foundation?
We've been lucky with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been working on it for a while, but we're not just there yet.
Okay.
Like, for example, when someone sees a video of a ref being abused, they run to offsides and they show them a video. I was like, do it with me. All right, I'll get there soon. I just want to just say a few things here. I'm an official, and I've been one for 20 years. I started when I was 12 years old. So now I'm doing varsity. I'm still learning the youth level. It's different rules. NFHS is totally different than really, they try to base off modified. But you still learn every single play. And my message is, you have free speech. I don't want to take that away from you. Honestly, it's almost funny when hundreds of fans boo the right call. Because as a fan, I might have booed too.
Right.
Yeah.
As a fan, you cannot see a play objectively. You know, it's okay to say that was a bad call, ref. What's not okay is saying you are a horrible ref. I take great pride at what I do. I study the rule book and the youth one.
Yep.
You know, we have one shot to make a decision. We don't have replay. We have that one angle, and we pray it's right.
Yep.
You know,
I was lucky enough the last game that I worked, and hopefully for the Thanksgiving game again, my son worked the clip on the chain gang for the playoff game that I worked. So he got to be there on the sidelines and see his dad in action, and not just from up in the stands, but from out on the field. And I got lucky. I got to work one of his middle school games. I kind of pulled some strings because technically we're really not supposed to do that. But I threw a flag on his best friend, so everybody knew that I was doing it objectively. And I would have thrown a flag on my son too, because he's got to learn the same lessons. But my son, when the game was over, got back in the car, and he was with the chain gang. He was on the visiting sideline. Well, the home team smoked him, and so he got to see the real ugly side of how coaches react when plays aren't going their way, let alone if it's a call that's not going their way, and different things like that. And along that sideline, there were two of the biggest hits that I've seen this football season. And both of them were as clean as can be. They were just Scud missiles coming in. On one was a running back, the other one was a wide receiver, but the wide receiver turned, took 2 steps, was still in bounds, and just got lambasted. It wasn't a targeting, it was a shoulder hit, but I mean, this kid got smoked. And like, it was one of those ones where every crowd, every person home and away was like, ooh, and the kid popped up. There was no injury, but of course, the team that was losing, the coaches wanted a targeting. They wanted a blindside hit. They wanted every 15-yard penalty that you can imagine because they were looking to try to get an edge. And get in the car, and my son's like, "Dad, those hits were clean, weren't they?" I'm like, "Yeah, those things were clean as day. Like you can't get any better than that." So he got to see that side of it, and he got to see the ugliness at times that goes along with it. One thing he didn't see, and one thing that has come to my attention, and I got a couple of clips. Some of these clips are a little bit older, and they're pretty well known. But now I've just heard of an incident recently in the Northeast area, where an official got struck by a player. So I know the publicity is out there when parents go after officials. I know in hockey it was a real big thing a couple of years ago that they actually put laws in against it for parents going after hockey officials. And you hear about the parents or the coaches yelling and abusing the officials. But now with the way that I'm going to stop myself. Now we're starting to see situations where it's not a coach, it's not a parent, but it's a player. And I got this one clip that came. This one is about 5 years old. This one happened down in Texas. I'm going to pop this up.
We got 2 fouls on the defense. We got a personal foul, late hit on the quarterback, number 88. And non-sportsmanlike conduct, number 88 on the defense, has been disqualified.
So the official makes his calls there. And now you're going to see that player just comes off the sideline after being ejected from the game and just lights up the official. Now, I don't know the whole backstory with the flags, where they occurred. I'm assuming that this referee, I'm pretty sure, to my knowledge, this referee had both flags because I think it was a roughing the passer, which is going to be the referee's call. And then the player was verbally abusing the official, the referee, and that's where he got the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. And here in New Jersey, if you get 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, it's a means for disqualification. So I don't know how it works in Texas. I don't know if this player was being disqualified because of the roughing the quarterback, roughing the passer penalty, if it was a blatant thing. But the player gets ejected, and then all of a sudden he comes running off the sideline and just blasts the official. I'm going to just play that one more time. And you see his teammate and his coaches are running out there to try to pull that player off. And this was something that got some pretty national publicity. Did you guys see that one before?
No, that's a first for me.
Really?
100 times.
Yeah. So it ended up with that scenario. That was in 2020. It was down in Texas. It was a playoff game, so it was a big game. And you see the emotion that got hold of that player, that now he took it upon himself to come off the sidelines and physically attack the referee. That young man ended up having charges pressed against him for assault. I'm trying to look at my notes here if I have what the final outcome of that was. But it's a scary situation.
His team was kicked out of the playoffs by his own school district. Pleaded no contest in 2024 to a charge of assault causing bodily injury and was given a year community service. The ref hurt his shoulder and had a concussion.
But yeah, that's a situation that I've talked about it. I'm 6'3", I'm 225 pounds. Back in my college days, I could hold my own against an offensive lineman coming at me like that. But now I'm 50 plus, and I've got a wife and kids at home that I'm looking to get home to after the game. Something like that, my body wouldn't react the same way that it did. And it's just something that it's a scary situation that we're seeing occur. Again, that one was from 2020, but I've got an article here that I'm going to share with you guys from just this past September in North Carolina, a situation where a player punches the referee at the end of a game. It was a game in North Carolina. They ended up stopping the game because after the player punched the head referee, he got ejected, went to his sideline, where then other players and fans now climbed over the fence and were coming out onto the field where they had to be restrained by their coaches and police officers. This happened this past September. It's fresh, and it's so fresh that everywhere that I've looked to try to find film on this, it's blocked. Can't get it. There's no film out there of this, and any social media site has taken it down. So I don't know if anybody's out there. If you've got a clip of this, I would love to see what actually happened. But the only clip that I was able to find was a couple weeks after the incident. They interviewed the official that was involved in that, and he was somebody who was a high school football official for 35 years, and never in his life has he experienced anything like that over a call. The game was 16-14, so it was a tight game. So it's just it boggles the mind of what goes through some people's minds. Daniel, as a coach, being on the field with some of these high school players, and don't quote me on this, and I don't want to say this in a demeaning fashion whatsoever. I think the video clip that I showed, I think that kid was diagnosed with having some type of anger disorders, which as a high school teacher we do see. But I think there was some other situations with that particular player that he had issues dealing with his emotions and stuff like that, and he took it out. But Daniel, as a coach, being there with these kids and being there all summer and sweating with them in the weight room, and then coming down to a game where something like that happens, how do you deal with that as a coach, trying to kind of talk a player off the ledge?
Well, first of all, this is why I'm a big relationships guy, right? You have to have a type of relationship where you can tell one of these kids to not overreact and they listen to you, right? Because I'm sure he was upset. Upon further reading, he just hit the quarterback late and got flagged, and then basically cussed out the ref in Spanish, and then the ref was like banged him with another one, right? And then was disqualifying him because you're not going to cuss the ref, right?
Yeah.
I think it's strange because once again, I'm going to ride the fence here, but we tell these kids all the time to be violent, right? You got to play with violence, controlled chaos. You got to, everything we want them to hit harder. Like when we teach a down block for an offensive lineman, I literally say, like, take your backside hand and try to, if you can get to his heart by breaking through his ribs, you've done it right. Like it's a violent game. This game is not, it's not an easy one to play. And so when they do these things, it's hard for them to figure out where that line is. Lower developed brains, right? They're only 14 to 18. Your brain continues developing for like another 10 years. That's why when they start getting concussions, we're always so worried about it, because this game is not that important and you need to continue developing for another 10 years. So yeah, man, we're pushing them. We're they're already full of testosterone. We're hitting them in the weight room. We're getting them, all riled up before the game, and they go out and they're just supposed to collide with people. And when they have issues outside of this in the home or whatever their mental issues are, sometimes they really struggle to regulate when to turn that on and when to turn it off. And then if things start going, in a spiral or just not going their way, that can be worse. I have a good friend of mine who I coached with one year. He continued coaching at school for a few more years after I left, but he had a kid headbutt him in the middle of a game with a helmet on, like while he was the coach. And that kid had a lot of issues, right? And his home life sucked. one of those demographics that no one there has a good life, but his was particularly bad. So yeah, you it's not something you can allow, but it's something you have to understand. It's like we're making gladiators, and then we're mad when they go out and they react in such a way. It's against the rules. He paid a punishment, right? He paid for his crimes. His school pulled his team from the play. Like sometimes stuff goes over. It's not fair. It's not right that he did that. But I'm glad there was something in place for him to pay the consequences. But yeah, we just try to talk to him, all the time, to these kids about understanding, like, you got to play the game the right way. You try to teach that respect for the game. The refs are off limits. I mean, me, Mike, we tell our kids, like, you don't even talk to the refs. It's not your job. Come talk to the coach. We'll talk to the refs. So, I mean, obviously you can't. It's hard. You can't put that on the coach. But at the same time, extreme ownership says it's his fault. Like, did that kid show stuff beforehand that might have been like, hey, he's gonna flip it someday? So, yeah.
So I got one more here that I want to share with everybody. And unfortunately, and I'm not doing this to pick on anybody, this too was also down in Texas. This one is about 10 years ago now. And you're going to see, let me see if I could pull up my notes when this occurred. I don't know exactly what time of the game it was, but to my knowledge, this was close to the end of the game. And the team on defense was losing the game. And I want you to take note to the two safeties that are back here with our umpire in the normal umpire position here.
Is this like 9 man? Oh, it's 10. I just don't see an 11th. There they are.
Here's a second view from it. So I'm going to go back to the beginning, because you're going to see the safety to the top of the screen just absolutely beelines right to the umpire's back without hesitation. And then the second player comes in when the umpire is on the ground, just a split second later. But when the umpire is on the ground, dives on top of him, almost looks like spears the official in the back while he's on the ground. So there's the initial contact, and then there's the secondary one. I mean, that's scary. That's inexcusable. That's something that we can't have in the game. So Ed, I'm going to refer this question to you now. With your foundation, you're dealing more so again with parents, with coaches, and how they're abusing officials. Daniel, you kind of mentioned it before. A lot of times this is a learned trait. And what I mean by a learned trait, it's learned by what they've seen either their parents or their coaches doing. And to a point, they kind of think that what they're doing is what their coach wants them to do. And in that scenario, those two players did come out and say that there was an assistant coach that told them that this ref was screwing us and he needs to pay for what he did and the calls that he made against us. And that was those two players' thought process was, hey, coach told us we got to take this guy out. And they drilled him twice in the back. So Ed, what are you seeing when, are you kind of seeing a little bit of a trickle down effect when the coaches are going nuts on the sidelines? How are the players reacting in that scenario? Stumped them.
It's sad.
It could be scary, yeah.
I played football. I don't hit officials.
Yeah.
Let alone my father was one. I wouldn't dare to hit my father. Parents, I'm reaching out to you to be a better parent. That's what it comes down to, parenting. Everyone has two jobs. It's a hard economy. That's why I say be a referee. It's in my opinion, the best bang for your buck hourly wise in some cases. We got to do a better job overall. And I'll say this now. A lot of people do not think that referees have accountability. They see their favorite MLB team and they say that the ref is screwing them with balls and strikes, and now they're trying to make, not really AI for balls and strikes, but try to make the game perfect. Humans aren't perfect. Okay. Let me just say this. You say we have no accountability. Think again. We definitely do.
Yeah.
We study the rules. We pass tests. We get recertified. We attend training and meetings. And yes, sometimes those meetings involve reviewing the same plays we got wrong, frame by frame. Mike, have you been there?
Oh yeah,
When
I've been up on my chapters screen for our whole chapter to learn, and I mean Daniel can attest. I've put some calls that I've made or not made up on the podcast and say, I mean, heck, Daniel and I were talking about it last week of a call that I did make that I regretted, and I still kick myself over it. So. Yeah, I hold myself accountable. My crew holds itself accountable, and the majority of good officials are going to hold themselves accountable. But unfortunately, we do have that minority of officials out there that, well, I did my job. Give me my paycheck. I'm going home.
Well, here's the thing. There are bad apples in every organization.
Absolutely. I was just about to say that. It doesn't matter what walk of life it is. I know coaches that are paycheck coaches. So, I mean, yep.
Every official can train hard, look sharp, know the rule book inside and out, and even get the call right and still get abused by a player, coach, or fan.
Yeah.
It's not the officials who need more accountability. It's you.
So I got one more video clip I'm going to share here, and this one was I'm done with Texas. I apologize, my Texas fans. Please don't hate me. Now I'm moving a little bit more Midwest. This one again happened in 2020. This one was from. No, I lied. Not 2020. Where was this one from? Let me. So it was 2020. This one is from Ohio. So let me pull this one up here.
On Jason DeBrito.
I want you to take note down here at the bottom of the defensive.
It'll be second down and goal.
Ooh, we got
it does get superimposed.
something's going on here. We might have a player challenging the ref. This is not.
It'll be second down and goal.
And right there, the official gets headbutted by one of the defensive player.
Something's going on here.
And then he removes his helmet and he starts walking in a very aggressive manner at the referee in that scenario. And again, that's another situation where the official that got headbutted did have a concussion, had a pretty severe concussion from what I remember. The young man that was in there, he did appear in juvenile court and he received probation, restitution, and court supervision until he was 21 years old. So making an assumption, because I don't know that individual, but let's say he was a senior, so he was 17 or 18 years old. He's dealing with that for the remainder of his teen years, going into early adult years. But it led to, in the state of Ohio, for them to drive a bill into place that increases penalties for assault on sports officials, including it possibly being a felony. So, I mean, that was something that was pretty drastic. And again, to rehash for those that aren't able to watch the video, the official on the field, it looked like the umpire again was kind of asking the player to leave the field demonstratively with his hand, kind of like waving him over to the sideline. And the player took exception to that, and he walked over and got into the face of the official, and then in a moment just decided to rear back. And I'm making this a little bit more egregious than what it was on the film, but came in and headbutted him and hit him with the for everyone familiar with the face mask, you got the metal bar with all the screws and everything right on the top of the face mask right there, and hit this official right either in the face or the upper part of the head. Then ripped his helmet off and started walking at the referee, where the referee was literally backpedaling out of the way, almost fearful for their lives. Because I mean, hell, that cat was a pretty big dude too that did that to him. So he was put together. But yeah, I mean, it's a situation that's out there. And I know as a school teacher, and we've used this almost as a crutch since 2020, because 2020 was our COVID years. And we all know now the new norm, or whatever the phrase is that everybody's throwing out there. But a lot of these kids, well, their lives were turned upside down along with us. But as an adult, we were kind of able to deal with the COVID scenario differently than a youth could. And Daniel, you brought up the concussions earlier and how the brain's not fully developed. So for some of these kids, it did hinder a major portion of their life. And maybe that was what led to that scenario. Again, that was in 2020. So that was just coming out of the COVID seasons. So I don't know what was going through that young man's mind at the moment, but he snapped. And I don't know if he had a history of that or what, but it's just, you got somebody that's out there trying to do their job. And now this hulking, I mean, that kid was big, teenager in a full football uniform, headbutts him in the head. It's a serious issue that's went on there.
I mean, there has to be a conversation here about, so I looked up into the one where the two kids hit the official.
Mm-hmm.
Those two kids ended up going on Good Morning America. I don't know if you know that or not, because
No.
they said their coach actually instructed them and coached them to do that, and he ended up with an assault charge, so he went to jail. Say all that to say, like, we have to have accountability all over the place, right? And that's why I'm such a huge extreme ownership guy, is because you have to make sure as a head coach, or maybe as an athletic director, that like you're not letting that type of person on your staff to the point that they're going to provide any example that a kid might want to emulate, but especially if they're coaching them directly to go do this thing. You also need to have conversations with your kids about like what's right and what isn't. Like, I mean, as a football player, there's no way. I never trusted any coach enough, but I know he's the type of guy who would never say anything like that, but that would tell me like, hey, we're going to lose anyway. Go hit that dude. Like that would be insane.
Now, one thing I did do, and I do have to confess with this, when I was a coach, one team that we were playing against, their starting quarterback was also their starting safety. So I told our tight ends and receivers, well, we're making it a point. We're going to keep a cornerback unblocked. So we'll take our chances with a cornerback who, you know, in NFL worlds, they're not really the big tacklers. High school worlds, who the heck knows what you're going to get out there. But we're blocking the safety on every play. And they looked at me. I'm like, well, the safety's their quarterback. And our job on defense is to get as many hits on the quarterback that hopefully you wear him down. So if we can get some extra hits while he's playing defense, we're blocking him on every play. So I had one kid earmarked. Didn't tell him to go hurt the kid. I said, but you need to go out there and you need to hit that kid every single play and make him know that he's out there. And then maybe when we do get that one or two big sack, you know, maybe he is a little tentative out there the next time. But that's even pushing it. Like that some people could say in today's society, that's a little bit abusive. But never would I tell the kid to go out and purposely injure somebody or purposely take somebody out. Like that's morals. And again, Ed mentioned it before, that can't just come from the coaching staff. That's got to come from home. And we all know home's different for a lot of people. Home is different from my house is different than your house, Ed, and different than your house, Daniel. And I think the three of us together are all good people, but we probably have different parenting styles than other people do, where some people, well, unfortunately don't have a parenting style, period. And a lot of those kids kind of take liberties that they normally wouldn't. So Daniel, you mentioned it before of knowing the difference between right or wrong. Sometimes kids don't. And that's the scary thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Ed, anything you want to add to that?
You pretty much nailed it, to be honest.
Yep.
You know, my father, Glenn, he made a great point. He says, as much as I'm glad that you have this organization, it's very sad why we need it, and he's not wrong. You know, as an official since I was 12 years old, Mike, I'm not sure how long you've been doing it, but for quite a while, not every game is bad.
No.
And thank God. However, there's got to be enough if 70% of your first to third year official don't want to referee anymore. If I
Yeah.
was brand new and saw videos like that, I wouldn't even sign up. There's something going on out there, and it needs to change, and that's why I'm here. I just have to keep. I want to keep talking. Hopefully, you'll see me at your high school someday, Dan, wherever you coach. Someday, I'll make my way to New Jersey. I had the great honor of going back to my roots of officiating at Roundup Valley Little League and Indian Valley Little League, and I got to just talk to parents right on their opening day in front of the kids.
Nice.
You know, I got thousands of Little Leagues to go, but you know, it's a climb, and it's honestly it's better than nothing. And hopefully, we can get more officials.
So I'm trying to pull up. I have a statistic from Officially Human, which is an organization which kind of their motto is to restore the respect and positive treatment of sports officials through the education of the stakeholders. So they're kind of got the same mindset, Ed, of what you're doing, but here they grabbed some data, and I'm trying to pull up the data here. Here we go. This is from 2020. Man, that year keeps on. It's a theme right now.
I mean, we're talking. Sorry to cut you off here, Mike, but
Mm.
a lot of this stuff does 2020. Got to go back to that, man. Kids were out of school. They're around their parents more. They were Oklahoma. Like we were one of the better states about keeping kids in school, but still, yeah, you close contact, and you're out 2 weeks. Like it was a very unregulated time in kids' lives, and had lots of adverse effects. And it doesn't blow my mind that some of it was that very fall. There's a lot of kids that need football more than football needs them, right?
Yeah.
And that's, whew, some of them didn't get everything they needed. They needed to be that under the supervision of some and tutelage of some people in education.
So I'm looking at the stats here that we have, and the scary, probably the biggest scary stat for me is 50% of our official population in 2020. Now, this was over 19,000 officials were surveyed. Over 50% of them were 55 years or older. And that's 5 years ago. And that's where then the next stat is 12% are 34 and younger. That's a major disparage in age brackets right there. And again, we're talking 5 years ago. How many of those 55 and older are still on the field? And if they are on the field at 60, which I'm going to knock on some wood because I'm hoping to be able to get there myself, but I'm pretty beat up already at 51 years old from my days of playing the game of football. So if I get to 60 and I'm still running around on the field with high school kids, I'm going to be very, very grateful for that. But we're losing a lot more than we're gaining, and it's for a lot of different reasons. This episode tonight is just one of the scenarios, and like Ed said, it can scare some people away. On the positive, I searched far and wide today to try to find clips, to try to find other evidence, and there's not a lot. There's not a lot, which is really, really a good thing when it comes to the players. But the fact that it is still there. And again, I'm just hearing of another incident occurring this past weekend in the tri-state area. I don't have all the details, which is why I'm being very vague about it, but it happened in the Northeast area, I should say. But it doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, it's scary. And when it does happen, the 2 incidents in Texas, I mean, those things were all over the place. Even the John Jay one was before I got into officiating, and I knew about that scenario. The one that we just watched from Ohio, that was looking today was the first time that I saw that. But I've worked in the sports arena a number of years. Again, I used to work at a hockey rink, so I saw how it was being abused there, because it's crazy. And if you are a basketball official, God bless you, because you are literally 3 feet away from the parents, from the student section, from the crowd, and you have to hear everything. I don't know how you can't hear everything. I'm an umpire in the middle of the field. I love it because I am typically only hearing the kids. I don't hear the parents where I am stationed. But in a basketball arena, you hear everything because they are right on top of you. So I give you a lot of credit for being able to deal with that. But I think the grand, to wrap up this episode, is I just think we all need to become more aware. Parents, coaches, players, officials, we all need to understand that we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. Let's not let a mistake compound and become a nationwide type of scenario like I'm seeing on those videos. So, Ed, appreciate you coming on. I want you though, before we go, how can people get in touch with you to find out more information about your foundation?
Of course. Bottom line, everyone listening, we're on the same side. I love to officiate. It's been part of me since I was 12. What was that, 63% of my life, I believe? I've been doing this a long time. Get involved. If you want to try putting on stripes, do it. Want to call balls and stripes behind the mask? By all means.
Yep.
You want to know exactly what a reach around foul or isn't a foul is in basketball? Try it.
Absolutely.
I've done a lot of sports. How you can reach me? Facebook for sure. I'm on. I have my own business page just called Say So. You can join my Facebook group, Say So Stop Abusing Your Sports Officials. It's an own group. Come on in. I run both, so I'll see you. And just please welcome. Have the hard conversation with each other. If we stop talking, we'll never move on, and that's everything in life, to be honest. Have the hard conversation. I really hope I see you as my partner someday. Oh, cool. Thank you so much.
Yep, there's the website there. You can see all the different groups that I'm a part of there. But I don't know how do I make this smaller. Just ignore the left side of the screen, ladies and gentlemen. But there's the website there. Oh, look at that. Two good-looking dudes there posting.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
I got my business page as well. Like and follow that.
There you go.
Housekeeping. Yeah. Mike, thank you so much for having me on the show. Dan, pleasure to meet you. I hope you join us on the field someday.
I'm working on it.
Awesome. And,
gonna transform him to the dark side once he hangs up those coaching cleats.
Awesome.
Someday.
Well, gents, once again, I appreciate you all for the hard work and time and effort that you put in. Daniel, where can the fans out there reach you? I forgot to mention that in the beginning of the show.
Go check out the podcast, the Football Coaching Podcast with Joe Daniel, and then the Coaching 101 podcast, which of course I do with Kenny Simpson. Both of those are on Apple Podcast and on Spotify. You can reach out to me at chamberlinfootballconsulting@gmail.com. All very common spelling, I think. Anyway, yeah, reach out. I'm on Twitter all the time, so you can find me on Twitter at Coach Chambo. Okay, and I love to talk ball. So let's
there you go. Well, gents, I hope you all have a fantastic Thanksgiving. To you and all your families, and everybody have a safe Thanksgiving. To all the people out there listening, hopefully your Thanksgiving is just getting your football season in full swing for you. Like Daniel was mentioning before, that we're playoff season, so hopefully you're still out there coaching or officiating. And then, well, then we just get ready for the cold season.
On
Guys-
behalf of Say So, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm
On-
sorry.
On behalf of Say So, we need your help to remind everyone, players, parents, and fans, what true sportsmanship looks like. The next generation is watching, and it starts with you.
There you go. Love it. Love it. All right, gents. Have a marvelous rest of your evening tonight and have a fantastic rest of your season. Be well, and I will be in touch. Yeah,
Let's go.
Turkey Day. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Appreciate you guys.